Hello guys, welcome again to my YouTube channel. My name is Yves Kipondo, and actually I'm studying for the RHCSA exam, a Red Hat Certified System Administrator exam. So that exam have many objectives, and one of those objectives rely on the management of storage system. So I've prepared a practice test which you can use to practice for that objective. So I'll go on the Red Hat website and I'll show you the objective actually. Red Hat, or maybe again RHCSA objectives. So I have the link already, so I'll open it directly. So here's the list of all objectives for that exam. And the objective which I want to work on today is this one. Configure local storage. Actually, by reading all the bullet points attached to this objective, you can deduct that it only focus on the LVM management. So the first bullet point is list, create, delete, partition on MBR and GPT disk, create and remove physical volume, assign physical volume to volume groups, create and delete logical volume, configure system to mount file system at boot by using UID or label, and also add new partition and logical volume and swap to a system non-destructively. So that is all the point lists for this topic. And I will show you as well the question which I have prepared to practice for this objective. So here is the list of questions which I prepared for that. So yes, the requirement is just to have two hard disks which will attach to your VM to practice for all these topics. So there is two parts. The first part rely on the first disk, and the second part is only for the second disk. So I will go with the first disk. So I'll open my VM actually. I'll use this VM name storage. So I'll go and add on it two storage of 1 GB each. So I'll go there and click on create. So I'll name the first one storage. Now, so it will automatically pick the name of the VM. So I'll click OK, and the size I'll put 1 GB. 1 GB, create. So once I was practicing for that, I create the storage with the same name, but it doesn't refresh already. So I'll put like 4, create, and I'll also add the second one, which will be also 1 GB. And I will name it 5. So it will be storage 5. Okay, that will be all. I'll save it and I'll choose the first one, 1 GB, choose it. And I'll do the same with the storage 5, select it and choose it. And I'll click OK. So now I have my VM with 2 physical drive of 1 GB each one. So I will start it. So it will boot, and I will minimize this one. I'll leave just this one. And to access my VM, I won't use this console of VirtualBox. I've actually set up an infrastructure where I can access remotely via SSH from my terminal. So I will minimize this one, and I'll go here and I'll ping the IP address of the storage server 25. So actually I can reach it. So that means I can be able to log to it. So I'll put this one on the right side so I can see both screens. I'll minimize. Okay, and I'll also put this one here as well, and I'll increase the size. Okay, so to log in on that, I'll use SSH -L if I've already created a username if, and I'll create which is my name. So, and I will create also, I'll pass also the IP address 110. So I've mistyped the IP address, so it's 25. I'll just try to ping that IP address. Actually, I can reach it, and I'll try also again SSH -L if 172.25.10. Just wait. I'll go and check it again, not this one. So I'll log in here, root IP address, just show the IP address to confirm is the one. So it's the right one. And so actually I'm connected, and I'll enter the password, which is password. And now when you want to manage storage, you must do that as a root user. So for that, I will type sudo su dash so I can migrate as a root user and enter the password of the if user. And to see all block device which I've attached related to the disk which I attached, storage 1, storage 4 and 5, I can use lsblk. So you can see those two disks are here. So there is a block device SDC and SDD, and each one has 1 GB. And I will start now by doing the first step, which is create a LVM volume group named data store with 2 physical volume of size 1 megabyte. Also, that volume group can only have 2 logical partition. So to create that, there is one constraint. So that volume group can only, so when you create logical volume on that, we can only have 2 logical volume and not more on that volume group. So for that, I'll use VG. Actually, I don't have partition, so I'll start by creating partition of 1 megabyte. So I'll do fdisk on dev SDC. So first one, you want to manage storage, you must firstly print the list of partition which exists. So for that, I can use P, or you can press M to see the list of all options. Actually, I put P, there is no any partition, and the type of the partition table is DOS, is MBR and not GPT. So I'll use this one actually. So I'll go and press N to create a new partition. So with MBR partition table, you can only have 4 partitions. So those partitions can be of type primary, or you can have 3 primary partition and 1 extended partition on which you can create other partitions. So I'll create the first one. So I'll choose default, the first one, so, and the first sector, and the size for that I'll put plus 100 M, and I'll just increase the screen so you can see. So I'll create the first one. If I do P, you can see we have 1 partition of type Linux, and I'll create also 2 partitions as I know I will need 3 partition on that. So I'll expand that. So I'll do N again. I'll create another one and plus 100 M. I'll create another one 3 and plus 100 megabyte. So I have 3 partition, and when you want to manipulate LVM partition for the exam, you must ensure that all partition of type are of type LVM. So for that, I will type T. So I can type hem. With hem, you can see there is T here to change partition type. So I will type T, and I'll say by default the third one, the last partition. So I'll press 1 to change for the first partition, and to list all option, I can type L. So there is a bunch of partition type, so I will choose which has swap as no LVM in it. It's E8E, so I'll type 8E. And if I do P again, you can see this one, the first one is type LVM. I'll go fast and do for the other two. So I'll do T, second one, 8E, and T again, the last one, 8E. So if I do P again, all my partition are of type LVM. So, okay, and once you finish, if I excite actually this fdisk prompt, I will lose all my partition which I create. So to save that, I will show again the help. I must type W to write changes. So I'll type write W. So that will save my partition on the disk. And if I use fdisk -l dev sdc, you can see we have 3 partition of type LVM. Okay, that's okay for now. And so I have 3 partition, and I'll go now and create the data store. So create a LVM volume group named data store with 2 physical volume. So first thing, when I want to manage LVM volume group, you can create a volume group by passing directly all partition, or you can start by creating physical volume, and after that you attach that physical volume to your volume group when you are creating it. So I will first list all physical volume. There is no order, there is just the default one. So I will create logical volume for that partition as well. So you dev fdisk -l dev sdc. So I'll do pv create dev sdc1 dev sdc2 dev sdc3. So I've created the 3 physical volume, and I can now create the volume group name data store, this one. So I'll go here and do vg create data store. So you can check also the man page of the vg create. So this one receive as argument, you can see here there is a volume group name, and after that there is physical volume. So the documentation for that is a little bit long, so I'll just leave that. So I'll use vg create data store dev sdc1 and dev sdc2. Also, I said there is one constraint which is this partition, this volume group can only have 2 logical volume. So I will, and for that, here I must check in the documentation. So I'll use man again and use, so it's already here. You can see if you pass L is max logical volume number. So I'll do vg create data store dev sdc1 dev sdc2 and plus L2. So I've created my volume group, and to check details about that, vg display data store. So you can see here max LV, which is for logical volume, is actually 2, and the size of that volume group is 192 megabytes. So we have created the volume group with two physical volume of 1 megabyte each. And the second question is create a LVM logical volume named accounting FS of size 150 megabytes. Format is at EX4 file system and mount it permanently on data store accounting FS using the label accounting FS storage. So I will go and do that. It will be LV create. You can also check the man page of the LV create command. So LV create, actually I will create it right directly, create. So as I said, the name for that is accounting FS and the size is 150 megabyte, and also it should be on the data store volume group. Okay, so we are running physical volume 152, logical volume accounting. So I mistyped the name, so I'll do LV remove data store. Just check the man page for this one, man LV remove. So it's remove. If I go at the end is LV remove F. Okay, I may do LV remove data store account FS. Yes, I'll remove and I can create it again. Accounting FS. Okay, it's created. If I do LVS, so you can see I have the LV, so I'll just do LVS and I'll redirect all error to the dev null stream. So actually I will increase this one. I have this accounting FS data store which has 152 megabytes, and the next step is to format it as ext4 and mount it permanently on data store using the label. So as there is a label there, I must specify the label when I format the FS, or can create it later. So if I want to format it and create the label directly, I can do mkfs -ext4 dev data store and accounting, and to specify the label I can use L parameter. So I can use the name is accounting FS storage. So it's created, and if I do to check the label, E2 label dev data store accounting, you can see the label is accounting FSST. So the length of the label cannot exceed some number of characters. That's why the header part is removed automatically. And the other way, if you want to create a label on the disk which doesn't have a label, you can use also the same command E2 label, and you specify the, if I do help command E2 label, you can see change the label on ext2 ext4. It also create a label if it doesn't exist. Okay. So I've created the label, so I'll go, and the last pass is to mount it permanently on data store accounting. So I'll create that. I'll put it here. So I'll do mkdir R data and accounting underscore fs. If I did it like this, it won't succeed because the data store folder doesn't exist. So I must do add p, so you can create the parent and the sub folder. So p, and if I do ls minus l data store accounting, so I put d, so you can see that. So this, you can see that directory exists now. And now I must mount that account logical volume on that. So for that, I'll do v etcfs dap if I want to make it persistent. And to configure a mounting point using a label, you can use label equal and you specify the label. In my case, the label is accounting fs underscore st, as the other part was removed automatically. And the second parameter is the mount point. In my case is data store accounting fs. And the third parameter is the fs type, which is ext4. And after that, we had option, which is default. And the other one I had also default. So this last one is when you want to perform check disk every time you reboot your computer, or you can leave it default 0 to just do nothing whenever you reboot your computer. And I will save it. And now, before I mount it, I can use find mnt dash verify to check if there is any error in the fstab file. If I edit that fstab and just add e like s, write it and call again that, you can see there is error because I had s at labels and support source tag, which is label. So I'll edit again that and go and remove that s. And now if I do find mount, everything is okay, there is no error. And now I can mount -a. And if I do df minus h, you can see that account fs is mounted on that path. So we'll go on the next step. The next step is create a file name simple.emg of size 120 megabyte under the data store accounting. So I'll do using dd ef for input, dev 0, and the output will be in data store accounting, and the name is sample.img. And I will also add bs equal 1 megabyte and count. So the number of block of size 1 megabyte which I want to create is 120 as requested. And if I cd in data store accounting and do ls minus l, you can see this file is, I put h there, so you can see is 120 megabyte. So if now I do lvs volume group, so I will just volume group, I will redirect output to dev node. So I will increase this one. We have logical cells of one, and if I do pvs, I will redirect as well this error, the std error to dev node. You can see we have these two partition which belongs to the data store volume group, and we have already used all the space from the first partition, and on the second one we have used some space, and the space which is left is just 40 megabyte. And I'll go for the next step, which is so after we create the 120 megabyte on that, extend the size of the data store volume group using the partition of size 1 megabyte. So I've already created another physical volume when I start, which is SDC. If I do PVS, I just forgot to redirect that to dev now. This one, the last one, which is LVM, is 100 megabyte also, but it's not affected to any volume group. So I'll affect it to data store. So I'll do VG extend data store and I'll add dev SDC3. So that will bring, if I do VG display dev VG display data store, and I'll redirect this one to dev now. You can see we have two physical volume, and the max is still two logical volume on that one, and the size is 288 megabytes. So I've extended that using the partition of that one. And also the next question is remove the secondary partition from the data store volume group. So actually there is one problem actually. If I do PVS dev null, you can see on this PVS, we want to remove the second one, this one. Actually, we have already used 56 on that partition, but we left out with 40. If I remove like this, it won't work and it will make an error because we cannot remove a used partition from the group volume group. For that, I must move data which are on SD2 on the partition which is free or which have enough space. In my case, the partition which has enough space actually is dev STC. So for that, I'll use PV move dev SD2 to dev SD3. So I'll wait, moved. So it's moving all data. I'll wait for it to complete. Okay, it's complete now. If I use again PV display, we can see the second one is now free, and the last one have some space which have been used, and there is now 40 megabyte on that which is free. So now I can remove VG, I can remove VG, remove data store dev SDC2. Do you really want to remove? No, is not that one. Is VG reduce? So data store dev SDC2. So I will remove that, and if I do again PV, this one, you can see the dev2, it doesn't belong anymore to any physical volume. So that was the 5 question, and the 6th one is reduce the size of the account FS logical volume to 130. So I will check just the size actually is LVS minus O VG name and free and is name and PV size. So just check option on that is or maybe I can just do this one LVS. I'll increase this one man LVS option. So I'll move to options. So here there is different fit which I can use. There is PV all, and the other one is so check it. So is LVS dash O PV name VG name and LV name, and I'll add also PV used LV used. Wait. So here it lists all option, I think. So you can check PV, dev size, PV name, and so LV name, LV size, and the other one is LV name, LV size, and so I'll do LV minus O, LV name, and LV size. So actually, okay, do dev no. Actually, the size of the account FS is 152 megabytes, and the question said to reduce that to 130 megabytes. So I'll do LV extend minus, so I'll do man LV extend. So if I go at the end of all command which I use, you can see there is a sample section. Just if you are top, you can just ask examples or sample, no, example. So here we can, when you go here, you can find all example related to that command, how it's used. So LV extend is used like this. LV, you place L and the VG group and also physical volume. But in my case, I want to reduce that. So for that, I'll just use L with the value which I want to specify as a new size. So I'll do LV extend minus L 130M, and to on data store accounting FS. So rounding size to boundary between physical extent. So new size given 30 extent not large. So actually, if I use the size have already been reduced, if I do LVS to, or I can just call the previous command, this one, and actually the size have not changed. So for that, I can do resize to FS dev data store accounting FS. So this one will resize that one. But when you want to resize it automatically, just here you can proceed, you can use it like VG extend like this and pass a R to resize the FS, or you can pass resize FS like this. Okay, now if I do again my previous command, is still there like this. If I do df minus h and check this one, it's now almost 30. So that is the size. And if I do df minus h, it's 30. And if I do pvs, it is pvs to dev no. So does that the size doesn't change, but if I use lv display, and if I check the account fs is still 52. So I'll just try to do something. I'll do lv extend minus l plus 1m, and I'll pass R data and data store data store and accounting fs. Okay, so now it did resize to fs, and if I do lvs, lvs to dev now, so it's still 50, and if I do vg display data store, to dev node vg size, pv allocated size is 150, and vg display, seems there is one problem, it isn't shrink actually, so I will check it again. lvs or lv size, and lv name dev now. So actually the command is that one which I specify actually, but I don't, if I do part probe actually, check now, cat etc proc part partitions is there, and if I do lvs, so I'll try to reboot and see if that fixes the problem. So I'll just check in the console. So this one, I'll wait for it to complete so I can log in again and check if my fs have been shrink to 130 size. Okay, I'll exit that one, minimize it, and call again. Password. I'm connect sudo dash, and the password is password. And if I do lvs to dev node, so it's still 150, so there is one problem. If I do pvs dev node, so it's like that. Actually, as you can see here, we were at, there were only 40 megabyte, but actually is at 36, which means there is something which changed on this one. So if I use lv display vg data store and accounting fs, so it's still dev node. So I think there is one issue which make that this file doesn't shrink actually. So I'll leave it like it is, but I will go on the next part, which is this on the second disk. So I will open it. I will open my terminal and I'll go here. And if I do lsblk, we can see, so I'll increase the size of my windows. So we can see there is this SDD, which is the second disk. And on that, what it said, create two partition of 2 GB and configure it the first partition as a swap. So actually is not 2 GB, is because this one is not, is 1 GB. So I'll just to manage it and do change that, like two partition of 500 megabytes. So I'll do 400. So I'll change that. So I'll do fdisk minus dev std p. There is no partition on that. I'll do n primary 1 first sector and do plus 400 m, and I'll create another one 400 m plus partition numbers, okay, and plus 400 m. Do p. If I print, all of them are Linux type, I will change it to LVM. I'll do t, and the first one I'll do 8e, and I'll do also t and add 8 on 1. I'll add 8e as well. So if I do p, all of them are LVM. I will write those changes. And if I do fdisk minus l dev std, so I have two partition of type 400 megabyte of type LVM. And the question said, configure the first partition as a swap partition and the second partition as the physical volume. As it is, the first partition is will be configured as a swap. For that, I will just do fdisk again, dev std, and I will change the type of that first partition. So I'll do 1 and I'll do L, so I can check here the type swap. So if I go up, you can check is 82. So I'll go here and do 82. If I do P, you can see the first one is a swap partition. So I will die right, and is the part. So I want to mount it also as a swap partition. For that, I do firstly make swap dev sdd1. It did create it, and this time I will mount it using the UID. So I will copy just this one, copy, and I will do swap on. Actually, there is only one swap with 2 GB, so I'll add also another one. V etc fs tab. I'll go at the end and I will pass the UID which I just copied. So I'll increase this size. Seems my terminal have I'll just wait for it to come back again. Maybe I can just stop it. I'll just exit on this one. I'll close it and go here again. SSH password. I'll put it here, increase the size, password, and I'll do v lsblk and -f. So for the swap, the UID is here. If I increase it, so you can use lsblk-f to list partition fs file system type and also the UID. So I'll copy this one. I'll copy it. V etc fs tab. I'll go at the end. So here I'll just do UID equal pass, and I want to mount it where, so I'll that here I'll add swap, and the type is also swap, and here I'll add default and 0 write it. So actually it doesn't save. So just do this. I'll do ls -l etc fs tab. So there is a file created by Vim, so it's not there. So I will actually I'm not connecting. No, I'm not connected as root. Su dash password, and I will let me put it like here, and I'll do LVS no -f, and I'll just grep to only get the part with swap. Grep swap. No, if I do that, it will. I just copy it. Copy this one. Copy and go v etc fs tab. I'll do just this one. I'll do ls -la etc dash fs tab star fs tab star. Okay, so I'll do vfs tab. Actually, there is this file. If you delete this already, so to avoid this message, so I'll just exit here, and this is the issue with so I'll try is etc.fs tab. So I'll copy this one, copy it, just copy it, exit, and I'll do rm-rf. I'll pass that one. Okay, now if I do fs tab, okay, I'll now copy again the UID. I copy it, copy v etc fs tab, go at the end at UID equal, pass that one, I'll add swap, and default 0 write it and exit, and I will do again find mnt -- verify. So there is no error. I can do mount -a def -h. So here we cannot see the swap here. If I do swap on, there is no that one, and what I do is just swap on minus swap on dev std1. If I do swap on, so you can see the swap partition of type 400, and if I reboot, we will see that as well, but I won't reboot actually. And this last part is the question is on the second partition as physical volume, and the second partition is physical volume of a volume group NFS, which has extent of 5, 8 megabyte and create volume. So I'll do pv create. So I'll firstly create a pv create physical volume of dev sdd2, and I must create a volume group named nfs. So I'll do vg create nfs, and as I mistype that nfs vg, which has extent of type of size 8 megabytes. So if I want to specify extent, I can do man. So I'll just increase the size of my windows, man vg create. I'll check for extent. So if you want to specify extent size, you must specify s and the size. So I'll do vg create is nfs vg s of 8m and dev sdd2. If I do vg display dev vg display nfs vg and redirect hero to dev now, we can see we have here p physical extent size of 8 megabyte. By default, if I display for the other one for data store, by default is 4 megabyte data store. It is 4 megabytes. So okay, that's okay. Now if I go here, and the last part is create a logical volume of 50, as the that vg group is of size vgs is of size 400. I can wholly create a volume group, a logical volume there of less than 400. So I'll create for 200. So I'll do lv create dash n. Name will be, the name is what is the name? So create a logical volume of size which will be mounted on nfs data. So I'll put the name as nfs data, and the size will be, I will add 200 m, as it is not, it doesn't have enough space. And on vg, on nfs vg, so it will create, if I do lvs2, the directory thing to now, we can see I have this one which I have 200 megabytes. And one thing which I have to do is to format us as ext4 file system. So I do mkfs kfs.ext4 dash l, which will be nfs underscore storage, and dev nfs store and nfs data. Okay, and if I do e2 label dev nfs data, the name is that. And if I do ls bel kid for dev nfs vg, that one, we can see the block id is there. So I'll just redirect that to etc fs tab and edit etc fs tab to mount it. Here I'll just delete all this and remove this one as also, but I can leave that double quote. But if I leave that, there will be one error which will be highlighted, but it will work as by the way. So I'll just put it here, mount it on nfs underscore data, which doesn't exist actually, and the type is ext4 and option is default, and 00, write it and exit. I'll do find mnt. Every time when I modify first tab, I type this command verify, which will show unreachable on boot required target, no search file or directory. That is because the NFS data is not there. So I'll do mkd NFS data. And if I do again this one, there is no error. Now I can do mount minus a, and if I do df minus h t ht, so I'll just increase the size. We can see this one is mount on NFS, and the account FS is also mount on the account. So this is all which I want to show you on this practice. So you can just tweak question as you want to get more practice. So it's depend on you how you want to practice for the exam. So if you practice more on this, you will become more confident, and I'm sure you will be able to fix all questions which will be provided on the exam. So that will be all for this video. So if you like this type of content, you can subscribe to my channel and ring the bell notification, and leave comments to say what you think about the video. And I will see you in my next video, and take care. See you soon.